I think it started.
Okay, perfect. Now, have we decided who's going to do minutes?
I'll take notes like I did last time.
Okay, perfect. Okay, now, the first thing I mentioned to Joe was he can be first if he's here. I don't see him logged on yet. So how about if we go to our 7 o'clock meeting, which was a continuation of a request for determination of applicability for 22 East Street. So Mary, what were your findings for that?
Okay, this is the one that they had started before I started, so I didn't research this one very much. I think you guys talked about this one last time and did not have many concerns, but there were more concerns for 24 East Street, and we hired Ecotech to look at the soils at 24 East Street, and Art had given a report on that. And I can share the screen if I can remember how to do that and show.
Is Art logged on?
I told him 7:15 for 24.
Oh, okay. So I think 22 we thought was not a wetland site, but if 24 was a wetland spot, it could be in the radius of 22's project.
Yeah, that's correct, Chris.
Okay.
Also, there are two people dialing in. I wonder if they could identify themselves. Number ends in 81, and another number ends in 03.
Hey, Mike, it's Linda. I'm the 1881.
Oh, hey, Linda. Okay, thank you.
Hey. Okay.
Okay, and who?
I'm Dave Crossman with DMC Associates. On the 03,
okay.
I represent the applicants. You're talking about those three properties.
Okay, great. Thank you. So if we go back to 22 East Street, since 24 East Street was not considered a wetland lot, would 22 be nothing that we have to worry about?
That's correct.
Okay, so do we have the applicant or engineer for 22 East Street on the phone or on the person?
Yes.
Okay, with that said, would you like to close this hearing? And it would be a negative determination.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll take a voice vote of the members if there's no discussion. So hearing none, let's go through the roll call. Chris, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, aye.
That's a unanimous vote of the members present. So we will issue that as a negative determination, which means there's no further filing necessary. And Mary will get in touch with you when that is ready.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, could we go through some other stuff before 7:15 when
sure.
Art comes on? I suspect Art will kind of help to explain why it appears that lot 24 is not a wetland.
Okay, definitely. So Mike, how about if
I could interrupt for a second. I'm in Westford and I have a public hearing at 7:15 in Westford, so I will not be able to join your 7:15 meeting. But based on what Art has found, we would like to close that hearing tonight as well.
Okay, Now, are you speaking on behalf of Art Allen?
The applicant.
Yeah, I think maybe perhaps I didn't convey to Art that David had to leave early. So we can wait till Art comes on. And if we have any issues, we can talk with David later, maybe.
Okay. So I
My
see.
hearing here in Westwood should take like 5 minutes. So I'll see if I can join when I get back outside.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So now I think we should go to Joe Lyden's item, which was a staffing update.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi there.
Sorry, I'm just adjusting my volume. Thanks for putting me on your meeting last minute. Just wanted to give you a update on bringing on board assistance for conservation, Mary, as well as the other land use. As you all know, over the last couple of months, we had not only some vacancies, but also some internal movement among employees that had supported not only conservation, but also planning, zoning, building. And I had presented to the Board of Selectmen and then worked with various departments on the top floor. And last night attended the planning board meeting to sort of review a reorganization plan for staffing upstairs. What that does is essentially it creates a new land use and inspectional services department that allows for not only the technical staff such as Mary, Paul Delaquila, Pat Roach, to be sort of under one umbrella, but also it allows for the administrative staff to work to support those departments rather than having staff sort of thrown across town. Trish, used to help DPW, go over there, come over here. Denise helped planning and ZBA, and she was downstairs. So by consolidating these positions and keeping them all upstairs, going to be able to improve customer service, but also provide the support that everyone previously had. So with the position that Denise had, that's essentially going to be a land use and inspectional services department specialist. But the primary focus is going to be administrative support for conservation and planning. So that for conservation, this person would be able to continue to take meeting minutes, would help with the administrative tasks, just as had previously been done, allowing Mary to do the technical reviews, the site visits, and all of that. And this will be a 40-hour position, so that we can be successful in advertising and hiring. It's in this day and age, it's hard to really fill positions, and trying to fill part-time positions is extremely hard as well. So the job description for this department specialist will be in front of the personnel board next week for approval. We've actually already advertised for the position. It's in MMA. It's on the town's website. Mary, I should pass things along so that you can post with the
MACC, yep.
Yes. Because it really is, primarily supporting, conservation as well as planning. So we're hoping, and I've been really happy. We brought on board in the last month really great additions to town hall, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to fill this position over the next month so that we can basically be back and supporting all the boards, all the departments that live on the top floor of Town Hall.
Excellent. Does anyone have questions for Joe? Sounds like a great plan. Thanks. So with that said, should we go back to general business? Mike, what did you want to discuss?
Working?
I don't really have anything. I mean, right now under general business.
Okay.
I mean, there are some things to discuss.
Right.
On the
Later
ongoing
on.
items.
Okay. So what would you like to talk about with ongoing items?
You're muted, Mike.
Sorry, thank you. Let me call up the agenda so I know what's on.
O que eu vou fazer?
Okay, well, Chris, do you want to do? You don't want to do any of the other general business first?
Can we? Well, we're waiting for Art Allen to be here.
All right, but you've got like the first thing on the agenda is the administrator's report.
Right.
So do you want to just skip that for a while?
How about if you do that one? How about that's Mary's?
All right. Let's see. So basically there was a bunch of site visits. There was a complaint about the DOT construction on High Street, and I went and looked at that. I'll see if I can bring up the report here. Okay. Can you guys see it now?
No.
Why is that not working?
Okay. Well, I'm myself. You answer me right away. Everybody.
So you guys didn't see anything that I was trying to share earlier either,
No.
did you?
Nope.
What was I doing?
No, but I need to hear this meeting 5 minutes.
Can I ask everybody who's not talking to mute themselves? Especially, I think some people on the phone, please. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm going to just ask for technical help here. Boy, last week this seemed to work. So it just hit the open the share tray, right? To share. And
yeah, the trick
click
is to have the
one of your
document open but minimized. Let's say if it's a PDF, open the document, minimize it. And
so
then
I can't share, I'm trying to share a Google Chrome screen. Does that not work?
I don't know about that.
Maybe that's why, because last time I was doing documents. All right, let me just try that. Sorry.
Mary, this is Alan. If you just click on and share your whole desktop, then it won't really matter. Anything you bring up will be
will be shared. So that generally is the easiest thing. Just make sure you don't have any windows that you want to keep private open.
Okay.
Go.
We'll try that. So can you guys see this now?
No.
Still can't see it?
No. Nope.
Yeah, boy, last time I did this on a different computer.
Oh.
Never change computers.
Is it that important that we see it, Mary? I mean, when you
No, it's not necessarily important. So, I looked at a site on Warren Street. There was complaints that there was a concrete washout from the DOT project, and there was, and it went all the way down Warren Street, almost to the wetland, but not quite. I was able to find the DOT supervisor, and he promised to clean everything up. I haven't been out to check on that again, though. And then I've done a few building permit sign-offs. All of them have actually needed, they need to come before us. So 278 Mendon Street will be coming before us. 15 Hickory Lane will be coming before us. And then next meeting, we'll be meeting with the people from BSC Group and Paul Delquilla, because they're looking to do a project right next to the town hall on that vacant property between the town hall, kind of in United Parish. They're looking to put a little park in there. And so they just want some guidance from the commission on how to approach that. And I think that's pretty much it. I did get out and do a few site visits. Went to Clayton Farms and found that they need to fix one area of erosion controls, and I left a message with Loviser. So that's pretty much it.
Do you need a time, Mary, for the 0 Warren Street for next meeting? Because we could add it in for, how about 7 o'clock?
Yes, we need a time for that.
Okay. Is that a discussion? Is that a discussion?
That would be a discussion, because they want to, they just want guidance as to how to proceed.
Okay. Any other questions for Mary? Okay, I saw Art Allen was here for a minute. And Art, are you still here?
I am, yes.
Thank you. Excellent. To talk about 24 East Street.
Great. Want me to start?
Yes, please.
Arthur Allen from Ecotech Incorporated, certified wetland and soil scientist, peer reviewer for the commission at 24 East Street. I evaluated the property on September 8th and submitted a memo with my findings dated September 11th of this year. Basically, as the commission's aware, this is a building lot that was previously forested, cleared sometime in the last year or two, and soil tested essentially in the middle of the clearing. The site is situated on kind of an upper low hill position, generally sloping very gradually off to the southwest. When I went out on the site, I noticed pretty dense herbaceous growth throughout the cleared area. Stumps are largely still in place. There appeared to be, from what I could tell, mostly white pines. Soil mapping for this area is a Woodbridge, which is a moderately well-drained glacial till-derived soil with a dense substrate, generally at 2 to 3 feet below the surface. Seasonally perches groundwater above the dense hard pan, but at a level that's, for the wood bridge, is at a level that's below the level of hydric soils or surface hydrology, which is generally within 12 inches of the surface for extended periods in the growing season. So I found the soils and the landscape position to be representative of the wood bridge soil series. I am a former USDA NRCS soil mapper, so very familiar with soils in the area, classification and identification. Again, the area had been cleared, appears to have been cleared and worked with heavy equipment in a period when the soil was wet. I would imagine probably winter, spring time frame. And so that soil was heavily rutted in the process of the clearing and soil testing. There's ruts, up to 20 inches, 18, 20 inches deep. And most of those ruts had pretty vigorous wetland herbaceous growth, soft rush, wool grass, even a couple of sprigs of cattails growing in those ruts, which is basically what you'd expect on a wood bridge soil that was worked in a wet condition. That again, that soil would be compacted. It's fairly fine textured in the surface horizons, and then once you compact it down close to that dense basal till layer, you would certainly expect to see some water perching in those, especially in those ruts. And if you leave that for a couple years, you would definitely not be surprised to see some herbaceous seasonal wetland vegetation starting. But I did a number of soil borings throughout that cleared area, focusing on the ruts, and found that the subsoils, even down in the bottom of the ruts, are still high chroma, bright, non-hydric, even though they had redoxymorphic concentrations, so indicative of short-term, pore water within those fine-textured soils, but not to the point of being hydric, so they were not low chroma matrices that you would want to see in a hydric soil. So they essentially still retain characteristics of that moderately well-drained, non-hydric wood bridge soil, even though those mechanical alterations had created conditions where some of those wetland herbaceous species could get going in there. So at this point, in my opinion, the soils in there are still not hydric. At some point, they likely will develop some hydric soils in there if that area is left long enough. Again, because of that physical compaction due to the mechanical operations. But that was clearly a non-hydric, non-wetland area prior to the logging and disturbance, the recent logging and disturbance. So that's essentially what I found and what's represented in my report. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Does anyone have questions for Art? Does the applicant have any questions for Art?
I'm not sure if David is still on.
Oh, okay. So with that said, do we have a motion to close the hearing for 24 East Street? And it would be a negative determination.
We'll make the motion with a condition. I'll move that we issue a negative determination for 24 East Street with the understanding that information provided by the applicant in the request for determination was inaccurate.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Marcella,
Alan, aye.
Mike, aye.
David, aye.
Hi.
Excellent. Now, Mike, with that being a negative determination, but their information was inaccurate or not sufficient.
Well, Art has provided a realistically correct assessment.
Okay.
And I'll say why it was inaccurate. There were two problems I had with Dave Crossman's submittal. One was the wetland delineation plant data sheet, which improperly included two plant community types, forested upland and the wet meadow that Art has described. And also, Dave Crossman's soil profiles did not mention any reduxomorphic features, even though, well, Art saw them and also David saw them when David was out there taking a look at it about a month ago. And so those were the two concerns I had with the applicant's submittal. And ultimately, that's why we had this delay until we got Art on board to give us an unbiased assessment of the site.
So with Art's information, then we can close it as a negative RDA.
Yes.
Okay.
That was the vote, I believe.
Okay. So we have a unanimous vote of the Conservation Commission members present. So thank you, Art. We appreciate that.
My pleasure. Anytime. Glad to help.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Take care.
You too. Now at 7:25, we have a notice of intent for 105 Crockett Road. Do we have members present for that hearing?
Yeah, it looks like Matt Morrow is he's the representative.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully he can figure out how to share his screen.
I'll give him a shot here.
Okay. Thank you.
I've never been rapid fire on screen share.
Okay.
But I'll give my shot.
Now, I know I have to read the public hearing announcement first. It has notice of intent is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Upton Wetlands Protection Bylaw that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearing on Wednesday, September 14th, 2022 at 7:25. Notice of intent filed by William Montenegro for construct replacement components of a subsurface sewage disposal system within 100 feet of her zone at 105 Crockett Road, map 13, parcel 27. All interested parties are invited to attend. Copies of the application are available on the Conservation Commission's website, www.uptonmass.gov/conservation-commission. Okay, so we're all set for you.
Thank you very much. Matt Morrow on behalf of the applicant. So I have here a plan presented by Evan Carloni of Innovative Septic Design. We have the high water mark of the lake is the edge of wet. It's a pretty steep slope there, so there was no BVW present. Shown on the plan is 50 feet away from the wetland here and the 100-foot buffer zone where my cursor shaped like a hand is scrolling. So we filed a notice of intent for the replacement of the septic system. What we would have here is we would have a main coming out of the house to an E1 pipe, which would be under the deck. It would come out into a force main that would go out of the buffer zone. Just gonna pardon my scrolling. I hope everybody can see everything okay.
Yeah.
It would go into a force main out of the buffer zone across the street on the other side of the lot, also owned by the applicant. And the system would be put here well away from the lake and well out of the buffer zone. What you see as far as what looks like a cylindrical shape is a PVC lining that would be done along, with the submerged pipe that's going under the driveway. In order to put the pump in, there is a tank under the existing deck. This portion of the deck up to the tank would be temporarily removed by hand. The old tank would be removed. The area would have, that area would then be where the submersible E1 pump would go. Or I say submersible, I mean under the ground. And then everything would be put back in. That tank leads to a pit that's actually off the property. Apparently years ago, when the system was, the original system that's there now was set up, there was some survey area and there was a system that was actually off the property. That's going to be filled and capped in place. It's going to be left into the ground. And then once this is done, the deck will be rebuilt in place, not to expand. This bold area right here is erosion protection for the area of work underneath that's going here. This and this is going to be the only earthwork to take place. So, I mean, that's it. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Matt, this is Chris. I have 2 questions for you. One is, did you get all your green cards back?
I've gotten all of them except 2.
Okay. And my second question is, do you have a DEP file number?
Yes, the DEP issued a file number. I don't remember off the top of my head. If I could, do you mind if I stop sharing my screen for a minute and I can look it up?
No problem. Okay.
It could take me 2 seconds here.
Oh, I know. The file number is 804.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
And so, Mary, did you have comments about this project?
Just a few minor comments. The DEP noted that there was on the NOI probably a mistake. It was talking about riverfront area, which I think so you might want to just resubmit that page 3 with just don't have the riverfront area on there.
Yeah, I already spoke to, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mary. Just to address that, I've already spoken with Mia about that. Apparently I somehow checked off the riverfront box and I'm just going to resubmit that page. She thought maybe that I felt that area of the pond was riverine and it's not. I reviewed it with her online over the phone. So she's fine with it.
Okay, great. Yeah, and just, I don't know that these plans are not stamped. I mean, it's a septic plan. That was just a comment. And then I just was wondering, were you going to remove any trees within the buffer zone for this?
No, all the work is in existing developed area. And Mary, I thought I had mailed you stamped versions of those plans. If you don't have them, let me know and I will correct that immediately because I did get hard copy stamped versions.
Okay. Yeah. No, the hard copies that I have are not stamped. I don't think.
Okay, they will be in the mail to you tomorrow.
Okay, that'd be great. And then I just, I imagine they're going to go under the retaining walls with the pipe. Or are they going to have to replace those retaining walls?
To my conversations with Evan is they're going to go under the retaining wall.
You're going to go under it. Okay. Yeah, it's a very steep slope between where the pipe goes up to the driveway. It's rocky. I imagine they go deep enough. They'll just go under everything. And they will have to go under the driveway as well as the street. I asked Board of Health if they've approved this plan, and they're still waiting. Because it's going under the street, they also had to get approval from the DPW and the Board of Selectmen. So this is a complicated process. So they're still waiting on some of that, I believe. So it hasn't been approved by the Board of Health yet. But I think for conservation, it's a very simple project. They also have erosion controls around the leach field up top. which is good. It is a treed area. It would be nice if they would try to remove as few trees as possible, but it is outside the buffer zone where the leach field is going. So.
When Evan usually designs his systems, he keeps minimal tree removal in mind.
Okay.
And like, for example, if there were trees in the buffer zone, we make it a habit to have the tree survey located and marked, shown on the plan, as to the trees in close proximity to the system that either would be removed or would not be removed, just so you have a record of what's there.
Okay.
In this case, that wasn't applicable.
Right. Yeah, so I would recommend that you issue a standard order of conditions for this project.
And one of the specials that we always include is that all other permits from other boards need to be met before the person starts work. Do we have any other questions from the commission? Or Joe?
I just want to let you all know that actually there will be an article in front of special town meeting on November 1st to grant an easement to allow this crossing of Crockett Road. So that'll be at least one thing that will have to be finalized before this can go forward as well.
Thank you. Do you have other questions or comments from the commission? Or from the audience? Hearing none, would you like to close your hearing with the understanding that some conditions need to be met before the project can start?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very thorough, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Can I take a motion from the Conservation Commission members to issue the order of conditions with the specials as noted?
So moved.
Okay, let's do a second.
Second.
Let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Mike, aye.
So that's a unanimous decision of the members present. So Mary will get in touch with you when the notice and the order of conditions is ready.
Certainly. And Mary, again, I apologize for the mix-up. I do have a PDF version that when I sign off, I will email you immediately. So you have that, and I'll get the other, do you want 2 copies?
One is probably fine.
All right, I'll print you off a copy, and I will send that out in the mail tomorrow morning.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That was an easy one.
It was.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time before our 7:45 discussion, and the Governor's Landing moved their meeting until the October meeting, so that's why we're skipping them. So how about if we go to the administration report? I don't think we have one right now.
Well, we do have some. Do you want to talk about the bills now or do that later?
We can talk about those now.
Yeah, so if you look toward the end of your packet, there are some bills. I'll just tell you what they are. I can get to the end of the packet. All right, so there's the water bill for the community garden, which is for $199.69, and that's going to come out of the land stewardship revolving fund.
Actually, that's coming out of the community garden has its own revolving fund.
Oh, so that's to come out of community garden? Okay.
Yeah.
I will switch that.
Misstated that when I filled you in on it.
Okay. Well, I think you said revolving fund, and I got confused. It could have been either. And then there's another bill for Gatehouse Media, which is for $101.48, and that comes out of the Wetlands Protection account, I believe.
Correct.
And then we have, and I was a little confused about these. We had 3 tax bills for 0 Crockett Road. They're not very much money. They're $12.42, $11.41, and $11.68, but they are overdue. And I thought perhaps that should come out of the land stewardship account because has to do with land that the commission owns, or where does that usually come from?
Well, before you talk about that, this is Bill. And I looked at those invoices as well, and they made absolutely no sense to me.
Okay.
Seems to show that there's a credit on the account, and then there's some interest that's due, and then there's basically a dunning fee. There's 2 things. You can pass over them, and I can investigate them to determine why they were issued and so on. They may actually be monies due from the prior owner.
Okay.
The other way, and I'll do that. And then the next thing is that it may be the easiest way for looking at Upton holistically. Ultimately, maybe the easiest way to deal with them would be to pay them. You'd just be paying the treasurer collector, and it would be going through that account. Okay. But I would like, if you don't mind, just some time to investigate them.
Sure.
Because they really do not make any sense to me.
Yeah. Right.
Why would we be paying taxes on town land?
Yeah,
that's just it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you, Bill, for doing that. And so was there anything else for bills we have to pay, Mary?
That was it on bills.
Actually,
Okay.
I have one other item. This is to pay Phil Benjamin, the forester. We approved it at our land stewardship meeting, and technically we can approve that and pay it from the revolving fund. But I just wanted to get a vote of support or a vote of confidence from the committee, the commission, to make sure that that's all on the up and up. But yeah. So I would make a motion that the commission support the expenditure of, let me give you the final number. It is $8,190. And I would propose that we pay the man.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote, unless there's any discussion. Okay, so Chris got aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Oh, thank you.
That invoice, and Mary, that's to come out of the land stewardship revolving fund.
Okay.
Okay, that was a unanimous vote of the commission members present. So, what we should do is, do we have any other financial updates?
Do we have a chart that can tell us what we have right now? Land stewardship is looking to, we're planning for a number of expenditures, and I just want to make sure that we have the funds in place or have them in some account somewhere that we can cover those costs.
So it's the very last page of the packet, which
okay.
I'm not sure how accurate it is. Kenny had given me numbers, which Joe says are up to date with all of the expenses, but it may not. So it'll show the lowest number that's in the account, but it might not have all the revenue. I tried to put in all the revenues since the beginning of the fiscal year, so I added that part. And I guess I'll try again to share the screen. I don't know why it's not working.
That's okay. I'll find. I'm not able to look at the Google stuff and attend this meeting at the same time. So.
Okay.
I think I can share it. I've got it queued up. I can try anyway.
Okay.
So this
Sorry, I was muted. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And this is, okay, so from the looks of it, it looks like this is up to date. Can I count on these figures, or do we need to? You know,
Well, it's I think for the land stewardship revolving fund, it's either that or it's more, because the one that Trish had done like in May or April said like $20,000. So I don't know why it says 12. Maybe you guys made another payment to Phil, or I don't know.
I think that may, I wondered that when we were voting on Phil's invoice, but I think that $12,000 may assume that the $8,000 has already been taken out of it.
Okay. Well,
That's what I suspect, because you're right, Mary. It used to be in the low 20s.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why it to drop to 12, except for Phil Benjamin's invoice. So.
Okay, that helps me a lot, although I haven't submitted the invoice, so I don't know who would have had that record except somebody on the Land Stewardship Committee.
Scott might have.
Okay.
All right.
He was working with Phil.
Yeah, I think Scott did something with that.
Okay. Now, he forwarded it to me, but I wasn't aware that he would be sending it to Kenny. So I'll verify that, but that clarifies what you have, what we have in that account right now. So thank you.
Excellent. So what we should do at this point is go on to our 7:45 discussion of the commission administrator job description. And I know that Mike and Joe have more details than I know.
I can start off. It's probably kind of my fault this is on the agenda, but way back in before we hired Mary, we were provided with the conservation administrator job description, and at that time, I think we noted that, and it was dated, by the way, it was dated 2014. And Chris and I didn't remember that. I don't think anyone else from the commission did. What Sandy said at the time was if you need to make any changes to that job description, it would have to go back to the personnel board. And we were, as you recall, desperate to get an administrator or agent on board. So we just let it go. And then, and recently, I've been doing a little bit more research into it, and it's a very convoluted situation, it seems. That, and Joe, you can jump in too, and Joe provided some really helpful background too today. So I went back, I found that when we hired David in 2016, there was a conservation agent, not administrator, agent description that was different than this admin job description that was approved by the personnel board. They were involved in hiring Dave. In your packet is a copy of that agent position. So basically, that kind of confirmed to me that that we really didn't have the administrative position to review. It was probably never reviewed by the commission. Apparently, according to Joe, it was a part of a larger effort that the Personnel Board undertook back in 2014 to concerning basically to classify all job positions in town, and the conservation administrative position was kind of rolled into that. And for whatever reason, I don't believe the commission was contacted about that. So that's the background. The concern I have, really the one concern I have about the administrator position is this. And first of all, it has nothing to do with Mary, and has nothing really to do with us having an administrator versus an agent. I'm cool with all that. The only real concern I personally have, well, there's two. One is if you read the job description, the administrator job description, it's really essentially for a full-time position, not 19 hours like Mary is on the books for. And much of that, I believe, is because the job description includes responsibility for land management and open space protection, open space preservation projects. And and that's where my concern is. I would like the commission to consider changing the language in just one section of the job description to change it so that Mary has responsibility to assist with land stewardship, land management, and with open space preservation, but not be the principal person responsible or principal entity responsible for that. And I'm not sure, Mary, did you include my? Let me see. I'm going to try to share something too.
Yeah, they're both
You know about what page? What page they're at, roughly?
They are about, if you look at your scroll bar, it's about 3/4 down.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
And then your suggestions are the last thing. There's the 2 job descriptions and then your draft suggestions.
Can you guys see anything right now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, almost there. Okay, so this is the job description that is in effect. This is Mary's job description for conservation administrator, and it includes, as you see, administrating conservation land acquisition at wetlands protection, managing conservation lands and other town properties. That is, what I have a concern with. There is another paragraph which actually is helpful under essential functions. Having worked with the government, I know there's a big difference between the word may and shall, and may is a good word to have here. So I don't have any problem with that. That kind of is a get out of jail card a little bit. And then, so what I suggesting, if we can find, Mary, am I going the right way?
Yeah, it should be I think you just went past it.
Okay, hold on here.
Right above the DCR. So
right, yeah, okay, thank you. No, it's not there. It's the what I have in blue. I had suggested language.
Oh, was it on the agent one?
Shoot, I don't know if maybe it didn't make it into packet.
Yeah, no, I think that I didn't have anything with blue now that I think about it.
Okay. Well, maybe if anyone has any comments right now, Joe or anybody can add anything to this while I search for the language.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, I also have what you sent, so I have it up on screen, so I can share that if you'd like.
Oh, please do, Joe. Thanks.
So hopefully everyone can see this.
Yes. I can see that.
So thanks, Joe. So on top is the original language. It's that paragraph that I showed you a little bit earlier, and suggested revised language is below it. So basically, the change is it says the position should provide assistance for conservation land acquisition and management of conservation lands and other town properties. That's the big change. I have one question for Joe. Joe sent around something this afternoon about the potential salary implications. I just, last thing we want to do is impact Mary's salary, because salary is based on job classifications. So if the commission was to propose this change to the personnel board in the administrative position, job description, would that have any risk or any potential for changing Mary's job classification and impacting her salary?
No, I don't view it that way. I mean, I think one of the main things is within the conservation administrator job description, the essential functions are also coordinated with the Conservation Commission as well as the town administrator. So there's always that feedback. So ultimately, even though it says manage, it's really manage with coordination. So the proposed change wouldn't have any impact to the job description. One of the things is that, job descriptions are also, in some ways they're aspirational because while it may list everything that would be, within a full-time position, Mary can't do every single thing that's listed there and has to prioritize. And that prioritization is really, guided by the Conservation Commission, as well as myself, and that, realistically, we find other ways to achieve some of the other land stewardship tasks that are mentioned in the job description, but really because of ours and, for the great work of other committees, are already being done by others. So, 5 years down the road, that may change. But the proposed change that Mike had, I totally support and would, support that change in front of the personnel board. In my email, I did identify that I think they had been being used interchangeably, because when you go to the classification grid, so basically identifying the conservation administrator as a grade 7, that's the title that's used. And even when we go into payroll and we look at the forms, not the job description or even the contract for David, when we go into administratively, we're using the term and the title conservation administrator. So I think we were sort of conflating these things sort of on the administration side, even though technically there were two separate job descriptions. The agent would have been graded at a grade 6 because it was not doing some of the other coordination and administrative tasks that the conservation administrator position did. At least sort of discussing this now, at least we can put to bed any sort of confusion as it relates to the title of the position, going forward. And with those changes, hopefully then we can just make sure we're all on the same page. Mary knows what document really applies to the work that she's doing, and same with, all of us.
Thank you.
Mary, do you see any, do you have any comments on this?
No, I think Mike's addition is good. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Now, Joe, after the meeting with the personnel board, will we be able to get a clean copy of the job description as we talked about? Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
My only comment is agent is a lot easier to write out than administrator.
And speak.
So from the commission, do we have any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we appreciate all the work that Mike and Joe have put into this, researching all the history of this document. And what we'll do is wait until after the personnel board meeting to get the revised document.
Chris,
Okay.
could someone make a motion to submit the revised, the first paragraph of a revision of the first paragraph of the conservation administrator job position to the personnel board for their review?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, aye.
David, I.
Marcella, aye.
Mike, aye.
It's a unanimous vote of the commission members present. So thank you, Mike. So do we have any other questions for Joe before he leaves?
Okay.
Hearing none, thank you for attending our meeting. We appreciate that. Okay.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Thank you. So it looks like we're up to website now. So does anyone have questions for Alan or comments?
So the only thing I did recently for Mary was to update the fees and open for other suggestions if we have other things that we need done.
And I did ask Joe that I could get the login so I can do some stuff too. It isn't, he gave it to me, but it's not working right. So we haven't figured it out yet, but hopefully we will soon so I can correct the date mistake and stuff like that, Alan.
Okay, yeah, no problem. And if you need a hand with that, or you can just send me a new document, I can post that
Okay.
temporarily. Super.
And Chris and I were talking about putting up just a little calendar with the meeting deadlines, meeting dates and the filing deadlines, that so that people can look at that.
Yeah, that's pretty simple. I think I remember right. I thought there was a little calendar there, like that links to the global town calendar. But of course, we could have a conservation commission specific calendar also.
Yeah, and more just of a list of the dates and then the deadline for people to, I don't know, maybe this doesn't happen so much here, but in Webster, people are always trying to get it in as soon as possible for the next meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's good to be transparent with people so that that way they know when the last day is. They could put something on the agenda.
Sounds good.
Okay, excellent. And how about open space committee?
Yeah. So I did send out earlier a plan of the, actually a copy of the plan as it exists for the Mechanic Street property. At this point, I think the only action that remains is for them to install the Burnson monuments. We have 10 of them in the contract, and I think we could easily use those 10. There may be a couple more points where we need boundary markers, and so I do have a question about whether or not, and we can take a look at what I'm talking about, but the question is whether or not we would need Burnson monuments for all of the points that we want to monument. It may be that we could use iron post or rebar in some places, which is substantially cheaper and much easier to install. If we do want to insist that we use the Burnson markers, I believe that it will probably end up pushing the closing out for at least another 2 weeks. According to the survey manager at WDA Design, it'd take about 3 days to install the 10 monuments, because they have to dig a hole as opposed to just pound in a stake. So in any case, I just was looking for some feedback on where we thought the Burnson markers, the monuments need to go, or if they need to go at all. And then, like I said, there are a couple points which I think are easily satisfied with something less basically difficult to install than the Burnson marker monument, excuse me. So I'm going to try and share my screen. Just got a nice baby blue circling. Doesn't seem to want to let me share.
Yeah, I don't know why. I wasn't able to either. I don't know what's going on with this.
Baby blue circle means it's a boy.
It's a gender
Bill,
reveal.
Bill, what was the date of the email that you shared it? Maybe I can.
I sent that out this afternoon.
Oh, shoot, I didn't get it. What?
Let me check.
Yeah, I don't have it. Or I would try to share it if I had it. Check.
Yeah, I came to me through my conservation email distribution. I can tell you exactly when and what the subject line is. Hold on a second.
I'm just hoping not again with this conservation member sharing thing. I hope we don't have another problem.
Yeah. Did anybody else get it?
No.
I didn't get it either.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I didn't get it either, Bill.
No.
Did you send it to conservation member or conservation? There's another conservation email address.
I sent it to conservation member.
Come on.
Can you send it to Mike individually right now?
Yeah, hold on a sec.
Yeah, you can send to M. Penko, and I'll see if I can call it.
You can also share it in the chat.
All right, I'm going to send it to Mike. I sent it out at 2:40. On its way, Mike.
Okay, I don't have it yet, but
I just sent it.
Okay. Well, you know when it gets there.
Okay. Do we have anything else for open space?
No, at this point, the only thing that is left to be done before paying for the property is to get the survey and plan completed. And like I said, at this point, the only thing that really needs to be done is to have the monuments that we need put in place. And it will go it will go faster if we elect not to do the Boonsons because they involve more work to get. And maybe that's needed. That's fine. I'll just have to ask for another extension, which is also fine.
Bill,
Yep.
It's Linda. Hey, it's Linda. How many points do you have on your on that drawing? How many total points are there where you've got now the wooden stakes?
Well, the points in question, there are absolutely no monuments or other bound indicators. There are a lot of points that are already bounded by things like drill holes and pipes and stones and stuff, which we elected not to change or add to. There are some corners that are completely unbounded or unmonumented.
But in terms of the stakes with the little orange flags on them, are there 60 of those around the whole property that delineate the border?
I haven't counted them up. There's probably 40 or so,
Okay. Okay.
40 corners.
Okay. All right. Well, just I'll mute myself in a sec, but just I would say it might be nice to have a stone marker at Fowler Street. Just that, if that's going to end up being any kind of an opening, which I think it will be, at least for the neighbors, we'll figure out some way to get up there that way. That might be a nice place for a stone marker. And particularly if it's someplace, in the future that you'd think you'd want to put a little trail sign or something like that, that would be nice. And then the only other place that I could think of would be another access point up Mechanic at the corner or something like that, for the same reason, just as a marker, and then as a trailhead or something like that. Otherwise, I really like the idea of having as much rebar, posts up there as you can, so that it's well marked, because it's kind of easy to get off the property and into other places unknown.
Yep.
Unknown until I got lost there. Anyway, so that's my 2 cents. Just a couple of, pretty concrete-y marble, whatever, granite things, and then the rest, the more the merrier with the rebar.
Mike, did you get it?
I did not get it, and I'm going to mute because I have dogs barking. So sorry about that. But no, it's not here yet.
Okay, should we skip over to Land Stewardship Committee?
Yep, sure.
So we've got some work started at the Brook parking area on Grafton Road. So we still need to install the gate, and we need to put the sign back up. But if you go there, there's plenty of parking now, and and Greg put stones to create a barrier so people don't drive beyond the parking area. So that's the status on Warren Brook. Greg is also going to come and do some grading, and then Scott is going to do some planting, and hopefully next spring it'll look a lot better.
Excellent. Mike, did you get the email yet?
No, I've not gotten it yet.
Okay.
Just about the parking area, Marcel just touched on. There are some pictures of it in the packet, if anyone wants to look at it. And Marcel, do you want to talk about gravel at all, or not at this point?
Well, the parking lot does need a little help. There's a dip where that collects water, and that's just gonna get worse. So we would like to. We were considering putting some gravel down, and land stewardship can discuss that. I'm not sure what account. This is one of our expenses that I mentioned earlier. I'm not sure which account it should be pulled from, but I'm open to suggestions, and I have no idea what it's going to cost. I haven't priced out. I know that there's ways of measuring gravel that I have no clue about. So I'll have to defer to people who know how to eyeball how much gravel we might need there. But I'll bet you Greg can help us out with that too, if necessary.
Will that area be plowed, Marcella?
It will, and currently the DPW pushes the snow that they take off of Grafton Road, and they pile it up on one side of that parking area. And over the years, they've scraped the top of it, and there was a big pile of, contaminated soil, contaminated with asphalt and trash. That's only going to happen again. So gravel may not be the best option. Maybe paving it is a better option in terms of having plowing done there, but I haven't priced that out either.
Yeah, but isn't that also a school bus turnaround?
I don't know.
I think it might be, and if that's the case, could that be something the town pays for?
That's a good thought. I'll investigate that. And does anyone have any thoughts on whether the gravel is the best, gravel versus paving?
Yeah, I just have one thought. I was also wondering about some gravel just at the beginning of the trail where it's really wet, and that would be just a narrow strip for the trail rather than for the parking area. And I don't know what's best to do with the puddle in the parking area. I think it's a good concern that it might just get chewed up by a plow. But the other thought I had about gravel was to kind of improve that path pretty much where it starts. And if we decided to do that, Greg could spread it when he's going to be out there doing Scott's work, in October, November.
I'm not sure I'm envisioning what you have in mind as far as doing gravel on the trail. Can you draw a picture for me? Are you looking at like something in an elevated area that's packed gravel that'll go through the center of that field? Are you talking about something that'll go, because that would take us through a wet area, or talking about going around that, or?
If this trail would go basically straight back from where the gate's going to be, I think the trail would go through some soft ground areas. And that's where I was thinking maybe a little bit of gravel would help. I'm not thinking about filling the big puddle that would be to the way to the left. But I don't know, maybe it's just worth taking a look at, Marcella, and like you said before, let land stewardship figure it out. I don't think the cost of gravel would be very high. To have a few yards dumped there would not cost very much. And also, I did get the plan. I'm hoping to be able to share it whenever we're ready to do that.
Marcella, is there anything else for land stewardship?
Only one other thing. We're looking, we're moving forward on getting those trees planted over by the parking lot near Rockwood Meadows. Everybody seems to be on board. HALT and the homeowners association all are in favor of it. So if we can get those trees purchased and to put in, that's yet another expense. So that's pending, but I'm hoping we'll get that done in the next month or so.
I did send an email out earlier today with I did some research on what's available and what cost is, and went over to Bigelow's this morning. They have shagbark hickory, bald and burlapped, about 4 to 6 foot tall tree for $300. So they have those available. And then that's the only place I found shagbark available this year. And then the only place that has the black gum, the Nissa, available, I went to 4 different places or contacted 4 different places. The only place is Weston, and they have 6 foot tall containerized Nissa for $195 each with a 25% discount until the end of September. I actually took a look at a couple of those. They look okay. They're in like a number 7 pot, a 7-gallon pot. I think they would take some TLC next year to make sure they were watered, frequently, given that they don't have a very big root ball. But anyway, that's a story. And it did occur to me that another nice place to plant a tree, and maybe this is for the future, would be someplace near the kiosk at Warren Brook. I mean, basically plant a future shade tree there, and it off by itself, not too far from the kiosk. But and that I think might be a really nice place for a shagbark, personally. But
Mike, with both vendors, would they deliver the trees, or would Gray
no,
have?
the cost doesn't include delivery. I think all of them we could pick them up. I could carry either one of those options in my car, or if we had someone volunteer to pick up truck. We could also probably install them ourselves if we have some volunteers to digging holes.
Yeah, you could use my truck, Mike. That's fine.
Okay. So I don't know. Do people have any preference, Nissa or the shagbark? And if it's December 14th, so if we did make a decision tonight, and if we went with Nissa, we could get the discount this month.
I'm in favor of the Nissa.
Yeah, the price is right, and then if I read it correctly, the size is a little bit more sizable than the other option. So.
They're about an inch. The ones I saw at Weston, about an inch in diameter and 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, I would vote for Nissa too.
Okay, can we have a motion?
I move that we purchase the 2 Nissa trees to plant at the parking area at Rockwood Meadows, and that we take advantage of the discount.
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Marcella.
Mike, aye. Okay.
So it's a unanimous vote of the Conservation Commission. Thank you for scoping those out, Mike.
Yes, thanks.
I'll contact Weston and kind of order them, and then David, you and I can maybe figure out when we can pick them up. And I guess we should figure out when we're going to plant them too, and maybe pick them up the same day we plan on planting them. But
can we have them pre-selected before we pick them up? Like if we post them, I just want to make sure we get like really good healthy ones and not the bottom of the barrel.
I think yes. I think if you wanted, they could show us what they have. I saw a couple that looked okay. I mean that is actually a good comment. I think by the end of the year, maybe the best looking stuff is gone. But on the other hand, we're getting a 25% discount, and what they had didn't look bad. The couple that I saw looked acceptable.
Do they have is there a guarantee that they'll survive?
I'd have to check that.
Sometimes they do guarantee them, but I'm not sure what the conditions are. It would probably be conditional. Also, are you thinking we would be digging the holes ourselves, or do we need to hire someone to do that?
I think we could dig them ourselves.
How big a hole would
probably about 2 foot diameter.
Is that how big the root ball is?
The root ball's maybe 1.5 foot diameter, maybe a foot and a half.
Yeah.
So maybe 2.5 foot diameter.
I'd say be a little bit bigger would be good. So you think that we can do that ourselves?
How much would?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth a try. And I mean, if we hired Greg to do it, we'd probably, have to pay like his half-day fee. Probably.
Yeah.
Which,
if we need to do that, it might save our backs and our day.
Sure.
Or
Right.
for a full day for about half a dozen crew
Right.
members.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other thoughts on what options we have for digging those holes?
If you don't mind spending the money, I think I would go along with that and prefer to hire someone in.
Right.
I don't know if there's any chance that DPW could dig a couple holes for us, but that's a long way for their equipment to have to travel. So I think maybe just hire Greg. Maybe he'll give us a break and won't charge us a half a day for digging 2 holes.
Marcella, you could put a funny picture on Facebook, some funny thing that would and entice a couple of people to come and dig.
I wouldn't do that to anybody. But the DPW probably can't do anything there because it's in Hopkinton.
No, it's in Upton.
Both of them are going to be in Upton?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that strip along the road is in Upton.
Okay, I thought one side.
And at the DPW, they came out and they their contractor took the tree down that used to be there. So
I thought one side was Hopkinton, but
I think we're on the side that is. I'll double check that, but I think that side of the road is Upton at that point.
I would agree.
It's bizarre the way it's laid out.
Okay.
Weston probably has a fee that they charge to dig a couple of holes too. That might just be more seamless if you just had them deliver and dig the holes and just get it done that way.
Can I ask? See what they say.
Yeah, why don't you investigate that and we can hire. Do we need to vote on how much we want to spend to hire somebody to dig the holes, whether it's Weston or Greg or somebody else?
I'll make a motion that we have the authority, or land stewardship has the authority to spend up to $600 to dig holes to install the 2 NISA.
Do we have a second?
Will we have a discussion on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do a discussion first.
So $600 to dig 2 holes. That seems. I'll do it.
I said up to, and the problem is when Marcella jumped into, Greg seems to bill us either a half a day or a full day. So some of that time includes his demob for him to drive his backhoe out there, take the backhoe off of the trailer, dig the holes, put the backhoe back onto the trailer. I agree with you entirely, Tom, but I don't know. We could try to ask Greg if he's got like a 2-hour fee or something, but in the past he's he's tended to bill us for either a day or a half a day.
So, yeah, if the price is reasonable, then I'm all for it. If not, I've planted so much stuff. I did landscaping for years. I don't know what the soil's like there, but digging a hole, 2 feet deep and 2.5 feet around, shouldn't be the end of the world, especially if there's like a couple of us. That's all. And I'm happy.
I get a couple shovels too.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
I'm volunteering.
Wait,
yeah, Alan can help too.
Okay.
So is that 4 volunteers? Wow.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, well, if you all are willing to dig holes, as chair of the Land Stewardship Committee, I will stand there and cheer you on.
Can't wait.
But thank you. I appreciate your willingness to do that, and that does save us a bundle because we are spending money fast and furious this year. So, thanks.
So, do we have a motion to purchase, or did we already do this? Purchase the 2 trees.
We've already voted.
Okay.
So that's
perfect. Okay, so that's all set. So, anything else, Mike?
Sorry, do you want to see the Mechanic Street plan? I'll see if I can share it.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Wish me luck. Okay, I just shared it. Can you guys see it?
No.
No.
Give me a second. Now, can you see it?
No.
Oh, for God's sakes. Oh. It's a PDF. I minimized it, and then let me try one more time. One more time. I think this is it. Oh, no.
There we go. Now we can
All
see
right.
it.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to just blow it up a little bit. And
Yep.
Bill, if you can tell me where to move it,
Yeah, so let's start at the south side.
which is the side we're at, right?
Right, no, that's the north side, the
Oh,
bottom.
sorry. Yep. Okay, south
So
side.
the surveyor had already put in some red spots where he thought they might go, where there are currently no boundaries. And I agree with all of them except there. So starting on the right hand side, and the ones that are the furthest to the top on the right hand side, I can't see putting two like that. I can see putting one on Mechanic Street. And similarly, if we look at the small rectangular parcel just beneath that, he has two markers on the southwest side of that parcel. And again, I can't see putting both of those markers in there. So I would put one marker at the corner which is essentially the corner of Mechanic and Fowler, which is just south of that rectangular parcel. And the others along the parcel south, I would probably not bother with the one that's right next to the drill hole. Because I think the drill hole is probably close enough for our purposes. And essentially the only other point I might consider, but honestly, if we could get them to do a drill hole, that would be good enough, is the place where the stone wall changes direction after it leaves Mechanic Street on the right-hand side. So then and the question here is, do we need the Burnson monuments for those places? So I'll have them do that. They've already priced it into the contract, but they are billing us basically on a hourly basis, not, it's not a flat fee. So we could probably come out of this with a little bit of money left over if we didn't bother with the Burnsons. And then the only other places where I think we may need some kind of marker, if you scroll up a bit, is basically, you can stop there. So if you look to the left from the parcel north, text in the middle, there's a bound there, but there are no bounds between that and the one that is closest to Grafton, which is just at the top. So you might put in iron rods, so there's like 1, 2, 3 there. And those are all bordering the New England, National Grid land.
And what's the advantage of using the Burnson markers versus iron rods or drill holes?
The drill holes are going to be in stone walls. I think that's probably good enough. But in other places, I think the Burnson monuments are essentially, as much as they can be, unlikely to be dislodged or moved or stolen or whatever. At least that's my understanding.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, I think they're Well, first off, like a rod could just be pounded into the ground and it would disappear, unless you had a metal detector. The bernstein is more apparent. They're easier to see. They're, it's the cap is, I think, about 2 inches in diameter or so. So I kind of like those, even though there's an added cost, especially around that one house lot on Mechanic where there's. So that's my 2 cents anyway.
All right. Well, then that's fine. I'll just, I'll talk to him and figure out how long it's going to take. And if we have to ask for another extension, we'll do that. I just want to be absolutely sure that everybody agrees that there's two boundaries that have small bump outs pretty close to where they end, the lines end. I just want to be sure everybody agrees that we don't need to put the Bernstein's in those. And if we don't do that, do you want me to arrange to have iron rods put there?
Yeah, I'm okay with the iron rods and, just not putting two of those Bernstein markers together.
All right. We'll do that then.
Bill?
Yep.
If I could, I think as long as the surveying work has been done, it would be a great service to the neighbors if, since you already have this delineated and there are flags out there I find that the whatever those stakes are called, the wrought iron ones, that those what are they called? Anyway, I have found, traditionally that those work very well as a marker, that they do not get removed. They generally, have a little paint at the top. They're easy to identify. They'll be there for hundreds of years. I think it would be a great service to the neighbors, the abutters, if, their property lines were marked with those kinds of rods. I think it's a good idea in general. I think whenever surveying is done that benefits another person, you just saved them a ton of money. They didn't have to do that. And I just think it's a really important way to communicate to anyone else who will be on the, up there building the trails, walking their dogs, doing whatever they're doing, that property is delineated as belonging to someone else. So it provides a service to the neighbors, the abutters, and I think it provides a really important identification marker. And I think that can be done very effectively with those rods, very effectively, and at, the lowest cost possible for something that, will last a very, very long time. So I feel, pretty strongly about the abutter circumstance, identifying the property for future, whatever ends up happening up there in terms of trails and people just up there walking around. I think it's a really good idea.
Well, Linda, I would just add the markers we're talking about, the Bernstein markers, are easier to spot in the field than an iron rod is.
No, I understand that. It's not about, those are I think those are an expensive and unnecessary option. The purpose of these markers is, they can be found if there is any circumstance that comes up, even if it's just somebody up there who's, foraging to make a trail, or something like that, that they know that there is a delineation of property. The other markers are just a lot of overkill for, this expanse of woods. They're a romantic marker for something that says, here's a trailhead. I just think, or if you're on a historic piece of property with a home and you want to mark, this has been this point for, hundreds of years, that I think they have a purpose, but I don't think it's in this circumstance.
I think the people who own the property, if they're concerned about people wandering onto their property, would post their property. I think that is, a more realistic scenario. I agree with putting in more markers, but I'm not a big fan of filling the woods up with wrought iron posts.
No, I'm not either. But I understand what you're saying. People could put no trespassing, and they may end up doing that. But it's a service to them to have the markers there, even if it's for them to then go out and say, okay, well, here's my property line. This is where I'm going to put up posters if I decide I need to do that. I mean, we had a neighbor do that off of the Stephens Farm property. It's very easy to walk onto those people's backyard from a trail that wasn't a trail. So anyway, I think the idea of being is more cost efficient, and you don't have to put them everywhere. But I think if you look at the points where the butters are, it makes sense, on Mechanic and Fowler, streets to think about doing that.
I do think that drill holes work really well, and those work effectively as well. So they're, I mean, the property is actually well delineated, and it'll be very well delineated when we're finished.
Okay.
Is it really, the corners are all identified, which is great. And we need to do that for the conservation restriction purposes. And this plan will be on file at the registry, and it will be available to anybody who's interested. And they'd be able to locate the drill holes probably just as easily, if not just as easily, as an iron rod that had been basically pounded in the ground near the drill hole.
Okay, but is the drill hole, if it's in a rock, the rock can move? Or...
Yeah, and as Mike pointed out, the iron pin can be pounded into the ground or picked up and walked away with just as easily. So, they're always subject to being dislodged or stolen in some way.
Okay. All right. I've never had that concern, but okay. Okay.
Yeah, no, I've wandered around in the woods, and I find the drill holes are just as effective as an iron rod.
Okay. But both are kind of challenging to find too. So you need a metal detector to find them, or something has grown over the holes. It just makes it challenging for anyone who has to find those places.
Yeah, the rod's going to be hard to find too. When they're installed, often they're painted with orange paint, but that paint only lasts, some number of years, and then they can be difficult to find in the woods. Exactly. That's why I suggested the Bernstein, which again they're bigger and they have like about a 2-inch cap on top of them. But I could go either way. I just I know there's an added expense involved, but.
Oh yeah, and the contract or the agreement we have already includes 10. And if we want to use them, we might as well at least use the ones we've contracted for.
Oh, if that's the case, yes, I would very much.
If we had decided to do with the iron pins, then I would have either asked them to return them to the Bernstein or given them to us so we could use somewhere else. But at this point, they've gone out and bought them. The real issue here is trying to close sooner rather than later. But I'll talk to the surveyor, and if he tells me he needs more time, then I'll ask for more time.
Sounds like a plan.
Do you need a vote from us, Bill?
No. At this point, we've essentially agreed to do what we set out to do. So
okay. Perfect. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody's input. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And so if we're moving forward, we already heard the staff update from Joe and the SVT management plan. I have to talk to Joe about what the town council has said, if they said anything yet, and the Upton Ridge one as well. And one thing I noticed in our conservation question email, our Northern Woodlands magazine subscription is up. Do we want to continue that one?
Where is it actually going? Since we meet virtually, nobody gets to look at the mail anymore.
Yeah, it's sitting in the office. I just got one recently.
Wow. Do we want to continue that subscription since we're not, and just leave
Yeah.
them in the office?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy looking at the magazine, but since I haven't seen it in well over a year, I don't know why we would continue it if it's not going to be of use or service to the members.
Do they have an online? A lot of magazines charge you a lesser fee if you just order it online, and then we could have access to it virtually.
I'm not sure about the lesser fee, but I think, you know, we do have, if we pay for a print copy, I think we do have availability online too.
Okay, so with that said, I can look into whether that's the case, and if that is the case, do we have a motion to continue our subscription?
I would move that we continue our subscription if we can have some online options and a link that we could all access.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Let's do a voice vote. Chris, Scott, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay, that's a unanimous vote of the commission, and I will look into getting the answer to that question. And the accounting part, I know Mary has touched on that a bit, and we were trying to put together type of balance sheet that Tricia has put together for that going on. So that's still be on there for a while. Now, Mike, you said there were ongoing items that you wanted to discuss.
I think we may have hit most of them. The only, again, you catch me without my the agenda online. I think the one thing I did want to talk to was we've talked about before is the grant for the stewardship plan, forest stewardship plan for Mechanic Street and Steffens.
Right.
There's a draft application in the packet. I have a little bit more information. First, I think the estimated cost of the two plans is probably going to be like $500 to $7,500. The state grant would cover around $2,400. I've sent out feelers to 6 foresters to see if they've been interested in basically bidding or doing this work this fall. Heard back from one so far, which was John Clark, who a much younger John Clark did Peppercorn Hill Forest stewardship plan about 20 years ago. Some of you may remember him. But I sent it out to 5 others, including Phil Benjamin. So that's about it. And then I put myself down as the point of contact on that. And I had sent it to Joe for his review, and he asked whether or not Mary should be the point of contact, which is part of the reason this whole administrator agent discussion kind of got in my head. I would be happy for Mary to be the point of contact, or Marcella, or me, or Tom. You know, I don't care. Whoever wants to kind of raise their hand and you know, send the application into the DCR and coordinate with the DCR. I'm happy for someone else to do it would be great.
Is there an application fee for this?
There's no application fee, and I think we already voted several meetings ago to submit it.
Right. So, Mary, do you have time to be the point person?
I'm still kind of feeling my way into it. probably, I would say, maybe not yet. Well, we don't have assistants.
So if Mike, if you want to do it, then I don't see any reason to not have you do it. I mean, if Mary's new, she's busy, maybe in the future she would be.
I don't mind doing it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to take a vote on the application as prepared, the other thing I did include in the application, the foresters for the birds option, which adds a little cost, but not much. But again, if I did my math right, the cost with the foresters for the birds is probably going to be about $500 to $7,500, I'm guessing, and then the grant would be about roughly $2,400. So that's the story, and you have it in your packet, the application as drafted.
So can we have a motion to submit the plan as described in the packet?
So moved.
Let's do a voice vote. Chris Scott, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
I haven't read through it, so I don't feel comfortable voting on it.
Mike, aye.
Okay, so we have a majority of the members present voting to submit this as prepared by Mike. So thank you, Mike, for sending that in. And let's see. Anything else with the ongoing items? Hearing none. Do we have anything else for tonight? I know we have to figure out how to do our meeting minutes.
Chris, I just, for ongoing items, I know One Cider Mill Lane, they just submitted their RDA. So
okay.
That's an update.
Now, which were they the ones who wanted to wait till October?
Yeah, that's them.
Okay, so how about if we say 7 p.m. for Cider Mill Lane?
Yeah, and just an update on Pearl Street. The neighbor, Marianne, has granted permission to Troy to cross her land, although she is very concerned about him going over her septic system. So we have to obviously mark out a point of access, and Troy is hoping to access it without even touching her property. So.
Excellent. Well, that's a good news. Okay. So we have at 7 o'clock on October 12th for Cider Mill Lane, and that's an RDA. Okay, and so for the minutes, we do have to make sure that we're keeping minutes that we can approve at our next meeting or so. So does anyone have any thoughts about putting a recording of our meeting on our website?
Are the recordings happening? I'm
Yes.
confused as to what is being archived by our being on Teams. Is that's all functioning okay these days?
Well, I see on the top of my computer screen, recording and transcription started.
Yeah, so the last two meetings, since I started them, I have access to the recordings, and I did talk to Denise and Joe about this. We can have them posted on the website. I just need to figure out the proper person to contact. I think he told me. And I've been typing up notes, for the last two meetings. If I have time, I can make them look pretty.
Okay.
But if someone else wants to work on them too, they're, it just is fixing the typos and adding like sentences or whatever.
I'm happy to have them posted. If it can be accessed, that's great.
So can we have a second for having the minutes worked on by Mary, and then also having the transcriptions or the recordings on our website?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris Scott, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, aye.
David, I.
Marcella, aye.
Mike, aye.
So that's a unanimous vote of the commission. Thank you, Mary, for taking care of that. So, do you have anything else for tonight? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, aye.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Did everyone vote? Okay, that's a unanimous vote of the commission to adjourn at 8:57.
Good night, everybody.
Good job, you guys. Thank you.
Good night.
Good
See you
night.
guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.